Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 9 of the Mind Blown Zone. This one is about weight loss. So, we've got some really effective and empowering information for anyone who is struggling with their weight, whether they're overweight or even if they're not overweight, but they're still struggling with their weight to maintain a healthy weight. It's going to be very helpful advice. Here with co host Brad. How are you, Brad?
Never better. And yourself?
Oh, fantastic today. That's for sure. Very excited to talk about this content.
Yes, indeed.
So shall I introduce it some more?
Please do.
Okay, so we are here to offer you a entirely new approach to weight loss. Okay, we're not here to talk about a diet. We're not here to talk about a meal plan, workout plan, different types of supplements, not vitamins, not nutrients, really nothing about that. Nothing that you would hear on any other talk about weight. Okay, this is what we're presenting here is going to be a complete paradigm shift in diet, eating, weight loss, weight maintenance. Okay. And this approach, not only is it going to be more effective, but it's going to be much more easy and much more enjoyable than what you're used to trying, right? So what you're used to trying is probably like craving suppression or sticking to meal plans or trying to eat in alignment with some particular routine, okay? So with what we're about to tell you, you'll never need to count a single calorie. You'll never need to suppress a single craving. And you'll never need to miss out on a food that you love, okay? I imagine that all that sounds pretty wild, but if you listen to this, you're going to be like, whoa, it's true. What do you reckon, Brad? You excited?
Well, yeah, absolutely excited. I mean, I think this is a new idea reaching, kind of at the bleeding edge of consciousness, but it's something that's been entirely and completely ignored and suppressed in, establishment mainstream circles of scientists. So it'll be interesting. I look forward to the responses to this, questions, complaints, whatever from the people, because it's going to be, earth shattering for some people to hear this for the first time, and how few people have pointed it out or even taken what we're going to suggest today into consideration. Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So just before we get into it, we'll just lay down the sources of the knowledge that we're going to present to you. People like to hear that stuff or credibility or whatever, we didn't learn this from being overweight and then losing weight. And here are the things we've learned. Okay, that's not where we're coming from, right? My thing was that I had a lot of chronic pain in my life, and I went through the whole medical establishment thing, and I'm like, man, I've had this thing for 12 years and nothing works. This stuff's all bunk. And it's only after I met a couple of people who were teaching more esoteric stuff that wasn't really anything to do with the mainstream medical establishment that I actually recovered. Okay. So I realized that, well, there's a whole other world of healing information out there. And I actually have a course called The Back Pain Miracle that thousands and thousands of people have bought in over 50 countries. And I get testimonies all the time saying this healed my pain when nothing else would. And so this information about weight loss is kind of like a carryover to that. Okay. It's like similar approaches, but focused on weight. Okay. And how about yourself, Brad?
Yeah. So, most of my knowledge and information really has come through, about 15 years of pretty deep study in the spiritual realms. And I use that term so somewhat loosely, just to suggest that I've studied across all the different traditions and paradigms for a really long time, kind of landed on these ideas. Really, they came on strong in what people often refer to as the New Thought movement, which is kind of this era from like 1850 to 1950. Some real fascinating teachers and authors that popped up during that time. Along with and coupled with that, it was also my new understanding of what causes diseases is what, these two things were kind of coupled together. A lot of people think that, certain foods, eating, unhealthy foods or processed foods causes disease. And, from what I've studied and learned over these past 15 years, that's not the case. But really, for today's talk, we're talking about obviously just eating food and what goes into our eating, which is really our biggest energetic intake of the day, right? Or 3 times a day for a lot of people. Right? We're adding this energy to ourselves, and it's what's coupled with that energy that results in what people end up seeing manifest in reality. Mm-hmm. So that's where I'm coming from.
Well, I like it. Okay, so we're going to be presenting to you a new paradigm, but we want to let you know that we are not ignorant of the present paradigm. Sometimes when we introduce new ideas to people, they think that we only think that stuff because we don't know about all the great science and stuff that's already out there, that we're ignorant of that. Okay, so we want to go through the present paradigm and talk about the shortcomings of that and where it's kind of failing, okay, before we present the new stuff to you. Right, so let's think about this mainstream conventional weight loss science paradigm, okay? So in terms of the cause of why you might be struggling with weight, it would be like, okay, sedentary lifestyle, okay? Slow metabolism due to genetics, not enough sleep, right? Overeating, eating fat-causing foods, okay, sugary, processed, greasy foods, or if you have health conditions, right? Like secondary health conditions, right? So, if you had these particular things, then you'd be like disposed to weight gain and struggling with weight. Okay, that's generally what's going on there. Do you want to go through the supposed science solution, Brad?
The scientism solution, more accurately.
Scientism solution, right. The scientific beliefs.
Well, so yeah, there isn't one person out there that doesn't agree with calories in, calories out, and we certainly don't disagree with that in the sense that I can't eat 10,000 calories a day and lay around on the couch and not put on weight, right? That's ridiculous to suggest otherwise. But this is the paradigm. It's this whole caloric intake. Reading labels to figure out how many calories, counting the grams. Just this practice of intensely thinking about, and dare I say the word, worrying about how many calories I'm taking in per day. This is a lot of people go through this, and this is the conventional wisdom out there. And of course, right, as we all know, for some people don't need to do any of that, and yet somehow they magically maintain, a fit body. So in addition to that, obviously, we have this more exercise, less calories. So if I'm going to eat 2,000 calories a day, I have to do 1,500 calories worth of walking, running, lifting, whatever exercise to balance that out. Obviously, one of the most sinister things coming from the establishment scientism is this idea we need to suppress cravings, because I think our bodies know what's going on, but this is very, very common. And then, of course, we've got this government-produced healthy food pyramid idea, which is another thing that can be easily picked apart if someone cares to. So I think that's the mainstream establishment stuff. Yeah?
Oh, yeah. Just yesterday, someone told me about how they're trying to lose weight with this meal plan that their nutritionist friend sculpted for them. So they're going to stick to the meal plan. And when they get cravings for things outside the meal plan, well, they're just going to know that that's not to be done. And they're going to say, no, I'm going to stick to the meal plan. If I do the meal plan, it'll work. Well, the thing is, that person's been saying this for years, and it's one thing after another. One meal plan after another,
Exactly. One diet after another. This one sort of worked for a little while, and then it didn't work any longer. And this one worked great for that person, but not for the other person. Right? There's all these anomalies, exceptions, and never one thing that works for everybody. It's out there,
right?
Which is odd, isn't it?
It's very odd.
If it was all purely scientific, then it should all work the same for everybody.
Right.
I would think.
So we do want to agree that this stuff isn't entirely absurd. All right. We agree that these causes do go with and are correlated with struggling with weight. And we also agree that these solutions can work for some people some of the time, right? But a lot of the time, as you can see, they don't work, right? People can be putting decades of effort into following healthy meal plans and suppressing cravings and counting the calories all the time, and just literally get no long-lasting result. Or maybe they do, lose weight for a while, but as soon as they let go of the diet, then it doesn't work anymore. So
right. I've known dozens and dozens, probably hundreds of people that have eaten perfectly reasonable diets and done a perfectly reasonable amount of exercise and still couldn't take off the weight.
Right.
They were doing everything right according to the rules set up by the scientisms. So that should strike everybody as interesting. And of course, we'll talk a little bit more about this idea of genetics here in a bit. And that's the fallback excuse for why it doesn't work for everybody. Right?
Exactly. And so on top of that, we want to kind of layer on some criticism about how even if you could rigidly follow a diet, it's not a very enjoyable way to live, right? So for example, diets require that you chronically suppress cravings and count calories, okay? And you have to live in this state of chronic deprivation, okay? So if you take that to the limit, it can work for you. But is that really what you want? Do you want to live in chronic deprivation? Or would you rather be able to eat all your favorite foods anytime that you crave them and never worry about calories or what foods you're eating at all? Obviously the latter, right? You want to trade these with me, Brad? You go for one?
Sure. I think the next one we have here is you say it's meant to be losing weight, but it turns into this lifelong struggle, and right, which you're just always kind of permanently hungry or permanently craving certain foods, and it just becomes a struggle. Like eating is almost something to not be looked forward to for certain people. Right? It's almost something
dread.
Dreading. Right, I'm dreading this because I've got to eat a cup of broccoli and 3 tablespoons of rice. Even though I feel like having a McDonald's Happy Meal.
Right.
So even while they're eating the quote unquote healthy foods, there's still this dissatisfaction and dread that's being actually energetically taken in. So at that point, what's next?
Yeah. You're constantly in your head, thinking and worrying about what you can and can't eat. Like every single food, it's like looking at it and being like, oh, how much of that? Like, can I have one more bite? Is that okay? Or is that bad? Okay. And you're kind of like, if you eat too much of something, then, okay, now it's time to beat yourself up and feel really bad that you did the naughty thing. So now the punisher needs to come along and smack you for being a naughty human, for eating unhealthy food, right?
You just had a half-hour guilt trip. What you just said. Now what's next here? So beating yourself up for not being able to follow these diets, right? That are supposedly.
I kind of said that one already. Sorry, I did too.
Oh, did you cover that one? All right. Let's see. You recognize that you really can't eat what you want to eat. I think we talked. That's pretty much the same as the other two. I think, right? You feel like pizza, but you end up having, broccoli and cauliflower. You feel like ice cream, but you settle for an apple. These kinds of ideas. We're suppressing our cravings, and those stack up on us over time. And again, it's this idea that we're eating something we don't really want to eat, which nobody should have to do in a sane world.
Right. I mean, some of those things like bean sprouts, sometimes I actually want to eat bean sprouts, but man, if I had to eat bean sprouts 3 times a week to be my ideal weight, oh man, what a terrible way to go.
I love them on.
And what we're saying is it's possible. What we're saying is it's possible to be your ideal weight without ever worrying about that. And we're going to be getting to that.
It's possible because some people do it, right? That's how we know it's possible.
Right.
The question is, how are those people able to do it, but not other people? That's the real right core of what we're talking about here today. What do we got here? Loss of joy. I think we already hit that one. Envy and resentment can can surface in people who are frustrated that they aren't able to eat, but their friend stays fit and trim. It's like a cow, right? So all these emotions and feelings bubbling up underneath that we're actually ingesting with our foods. It'd be quite devastating.
Right. So not only is this like difficult and not even guaranteed to work, it's also just terrible. Like it sucks. It's not enjoyable. It like ruins your life trying to be like this. Is that the conclusion of this present model?
I think it certainly can. Right? It can be, because eating is such an important part of our lives for most people that it really should be a time when we sit down and feel joyful and we feel happy and grateful, right, that we get to sit down and enjoy this meal. But for so many, it's really this situation we laid out above, right? It's this struggle, guilt, shame, envy, all being ingested by the person who's following the diet. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right. So I would say that a listener is probably piecing together what's happening, and is that we're launching a complete takedown of this existing paradigm. Okay. So we're going to drill even further into that right now. Let's take a look at the general statistical effectiveness. It is an undeniable fact. You can look at any chart and you can look around your world, that people over the last 100 years have been becoming more overweight. Okay, so even though supposedly you would think that science and weight loss science and health treatment and all that sort of stuff is like getting better, people are becoming more overweight. Okay, and the knee-jerk reaction would be to say, oh, that's because they're putting more greasy stuff in the foods, they're doing more marketing, making you crave stuff and all sorts of stuff like that. Okay, we understand that is the general objection, and to say, yeah, it's not because the model doesn't work. The model works, but it's because there's more bad foods. Okay, but we do not agree with that. Do you have any comment on that, Brett?
Well, yeah, I think it's that, right? It's those two ideas. I think it's the processed foods and sugars is the real big thing that people bring to light. And it's also the sedentary lifestyle idea that we're lazier. We don't ride our bikes and walk and do exercise as much. We're home playing video games or watching Netflix or whatever, right? So I think those are the two predominant culprits that people like to point to explain away the fact that we should be at peak scientific knowledge in 2023, and yet the observable results speak the opposite. Yeah.
Right. So the medical approach, the scientific approach, takes no blame. They're 100% right, according to them. Just ask them. It's only because people aren't eating in alignment with their approach and failing and eating all these sugary, bad processed foods and being sedentary. But other than that, the science is perfect, right?
That's right. Everything's perfect about the science. Always. Trust the science, man. Right. Trust the science.
I would never dream of not trusting the science, Brad. Do you want to do the next one, Brad?
What is that?
Has it worked for you?
Yeah, I mean, has it worked for you? For a lot of people, right? It hasn't. Maybe for some it has. Just in my own experience, circle of acquaintances and coworkers and friends, I would say most people that I've known my life have either always struggled with their weight or never struggled with their weight. It's one or the other. Mm-hmm. I don't know anybody who for a while struggled for their weight and then got it to the point where they could do whatever they wanted. There's always this struggle going on in the back.
Chronic struggle.
Right. Even if they succeed for a while at something, right, somehow or another, they slip up and fall back to, having weight problems.
Right.
So,
and always expressing the ideas of science, right? Always saying, oh, I just need to go this meal plan I'm doing, or this new diet, or I just need to do it better,
Yeah.
Some scientific thing that I'm not doing right.
Yeah. Right. I was eating, 4 grapefruits and 7 stalks of celery for 3 months, and I lost all this weight. But the idea that they need to keep that up forever to stay, at this fitness level they want. Should sound absurd to just about anybody that doesn't have to eat grapefruit and celery every day as their total caloric intake. And run 10 miles while you're at it.
Right.
So
this takes us right into the next one, yeah? Which is like you have to admit that there are people in the world who eat whatever they want, whenever they want. Okay. I'm definitely one of those people. Brad, you one of those people?
I am, but I don't want to have to admit it. That's all I'll say on that section right there. That's a little inside joke.
Oh, you don't have to admit it, Brad. Maybe the listener may have to admit it.
Yeah.
Police degree.
We are two of those people that we've never, we'll get down to some, list of ideas here in a minute, that some thoughts that might run through people's heads, and it'll be fun to do that. But yeah, we all know those people that have just crazy junk food, processed food, aren't particularly health minded, exercise wise. They're just living their life, and somehow magically they don't tend to put on weight. So I think we can all agree we know those people.
Right. I mean, how many bowls of ice cream have you had this week, Brad?
I had an ice cream cone, no bowls. Had one so far. How about you?
I've had a couple.
Delicious, by the way. I've had quite a few bowls of honeycomb as well. That's my secret late night snack that I love.
Sounds pretty good.
All right. You want to take away with genetics? Oh, good
genetics?
times.
Okay. So when we arrive at this point, we say, okay, there are people who can eat whatever they want, and there are people who struggle and they can't eat whatever they want. Well, where else is the argument going to go other than genetics? Okay. She's like, well, genetics. Okay. Just that one word, attempted takedown, genetics, right? So the idea that you have this predetermined physical code inside you that defines things, determines things like your metabolism and whether you can eat particular foods without putting on weight, like as if there's like the ice cream gene or the pizza gene or the pasta gene, right? So let me be very clear about this gene stuff, okay? I'm guessing, and I've got about 100% certainty with this guess, that you have never seen your genes, all right? You have never seen your genes, right? You've never had someone take a biopsy and then put it under a microscope and then look at it and point at it and go, see right there? Yeah, there it is. There's the fat gene. So it's because of this fat gene that you've got, which we can see right there. And that's the reason, right? Second to that, you certainly haven't seen ever genes causing weight retention or weight gain. No one has ever seen genes actually doing these things, right? Never. So no one's ever seen genes doing this stuff. But the scientists, the experts, apparently because they wear lab coats and went to Harvard, say, oh yes, there are the fat gene. Do you know they literally call the gene that they associate, that they've observed is apparently correlated with weight difficulties, the FAT gene. All right, I asked ChatGPT for all about it. All right, but it turns out some people have the fat gene and are skinny, and some people don't have the fat gene and are overweight. Okay, over their ideal weight. So this is, I mean, as close to unscientific and as close to nonsense that I think you can get. What do you think, Brad?
It's scientism. This is how the cult of scientism works. And right, it's this blind trust and authority thing we've talked about here in an earlier podcast that fits so much into this, is that they need to find an explanation, any other explanation other than the real explanation. for why
which is
some
common.
people struggle with weight, some don't. And scientism is based on materialism. And so in the minds of, this isn't to blame the people working in these fields, the researchers, the doctors, the scientists. These are all kind-hearted, good people, right? They're trying their best to figure out this magical material solution out there. So they're doing the best they can. They've just been trained into looking for a material explanation for why this happens. Right. And this is what they've arrived at, this genetic idea, which there isn't literally not a modicum of proof out there that this is the right answer. This is purely an assumption, and it's the wrong assumption. We're asserting.
Yep. And if you want to disagree, then go to the, I don't know, like molecular biologist or something like that. Go to the molecular biologist and say, I want you to show me my FAT genes. There's the challenge for you. Okay.
Right. Or take, 100 samples that they don't know of, right? 100 samples of people that are, a mixture of people that are overweight, normal weight, and skinny, and say, here's the genes of all these people. I'm not going to tell you anything about them. You tell me which ones are overweight, skinny, or normal size, right? And see if they can do it. Mm-hmm. Do you think they could do it, Matt?
No, I do not.
I think they'd fail miserably, which is why no one's ever tried it.
Right. So
it would seem, if I may say, that the door is open, we hope, for our listeners, for another potential explanation. Do you agree?
Right. Oh, I totally agree. I mean, this whole materialist, physicalist, genetic nonsense is totally disempowering, and it leads people on a wild goose chase to engage in material physicalist methods to solve their weight loss problem, which are proven by a century of experience to be a complete failure.
Agreed.
Well, how about you introduce you introduce it, Brad?
All right. Well, I think if I haven't hinted at it enough already or alluded to it, what we get from these spiritual sources, these new thought sources, these authors, writers, and so forth from days gone by. So these would be people who were not subjected to the last 100 years of materialism that we've all been subjected to.
Right. Even just standard 1800s thought.
They were suggesting, right, that these people who really had this worked out, that was actually our beliefs about things, our feelings and our thoughts, our emotions that contributed to this idea of retaining excess weight. So the questions, that we fashioned that we would ask are, what if what you thought about eating certain foods had an impact on how your body reacted to them? For instance, ice cream, which everybody loves. What if your body reacted to the way you thought and felt about certain foods? That's the same idea, right? If you thought ice cream was going to go straight to your gut, what if your body said, "Oh, why you want this to go to your gut?" Apparently, or if potato chips went straight to your thighs, that's what you're thinking. Oh, I don't want to. I shouldn't eat all these potato chips. It's going to go to my thighs. What if your body actually responded by doing exactly what you were thinking, even though you were thinking the exact opposite of what you wanted? Can you see that this is a possibility? And there's more to it than that, but this is the basics, right? What if people had the opposite thoughts and feelings about food and eating? So we're people who never had to worry about their weight and could eat anything they like. What if they totally enjoyed eating their ice cream cone and their bag of potato chips? Didn't think for a second about the fact that it might be adding weight to them. So I think those are the essential ideas that we want to proffer out there and throw them out and get some reactions from people. Yeah.
Right. And now let's expand on them, right? So shall I introduce the two different belief sets?
You introduce, but give me the fun ones.
Okay, I'll take the disempowering one. Okay, so
I got those. I got those.
You want to have those? Okay, all right.
Yeah,
Brad's
yeah,
going to have to say the disempowering ones. Okay,
yeah.
I'll
'Cause I have
introduce the idea first.
yeah, right.
So there are, beliefs about weight and eating and dieting and stuff is a spectrum, right? But you can kind of identify two kind of central points, right? There's kind of like a disempowering belief set about weight and eating and diet and so on, and there's an empowering one, right? And what we're going to suggest to you is that people who eat whatever they want, whenever they want, don't feel bad about it, just enjoy and just down ice cream and just go yay, right? They have a particular belief set, right? They're around this type of beliefs, and people who struggle with weight are in a different belief set, which is disempowering and leads to weight struggles. Okay, so Brad is going to rattle off a few thoughts, kind of beliefs that go with struggles with weight. Okay, go for it, Brad. Enjoy.
Yeah, disempowering, please.
Oh, can I just introduce it one more thing? These are these specific things we're going to say. These are the thoughts that you might hear running through your head while you're eating foods that scientism has assigned the property, the attribute of weight causing, right? Take it away, Brad.
All right. So this is so bad for me. I really shouldn't be eating this. I'll never be able to lose weight if I keep eating this way. This is going to ruin the weight loss progress I've made thus far. This food is going to go straight to my thighs or gut. I'm going to feel so bad after eating this food. I shouldn't be eating this. I'm definitely going to regret it tomorrow.
These are terrible.
They are awful. This is going to put more weight on. I'll regret this decision to eat this later. I'll feel guilty for the rest of the day if I eat this food. It's going to be so hard to get back on track now after I've eaten this thing that I shouldn't have. This is taking me further and further away from my weight loss goals. I'm going to need to eat less tomorrow to make up for this thing I ate today. Well, I might as well just write off the whole day after I ate this because it's ruined now. So that's a nice list of thick, greasy, ugly thoughts, none of which I've ever had in my life, by the way.
And imagine the feelings associated with that. Like if you're having those thoughts while you're eating, imagine the feelings that go with that.
Indeed. Now, on the flip side,
I would say, go ahead, Brett.
I was going to just introduce, say, the empowering beliefs. Let's see
sure.
some things that are opposite.
So imagine yourself with these beliefs. Okay. I trust my cravings to tell me exactly which foods my body needs exactly when I need them. I'll receive from this food only that which nourishes me, and the rest will pass straight through me. Just go in the toilet. Fatty, sugary, and high carb foods all play wonderful and beneficial roles in my life. I'm grateful for all the glorious, yummy foods the world has to offer. I love food, and I love my freedom to eat as I please. The food I eat always gives me the ideal energy I need to accomplish my short-term and long-term goals. My body knows exactly what to do with the food I eat to create the body of my dreams. You reckon they sound a bit empowering, Brad?
That's just two opposite ends of the spectrum right there. Absolute,
right.
Total polar opposites. And
so, go ahead, Brad.
Yeah, go ahead.
I will mention what you're going to say, and then why don't you go into what this means?
Well, that's where I was going.
Sure.
So what does this all mean? What are we suggesting, right? We're suggesting that people who struggle with their weight are much more likely to be immersed in that first set of disempowered beliefs that I read off. Mm-hmm. And that people who effortlessly maintain their ideal weight are far more enmeshed in the second set of empowered beliefs, statements. Yes? Pretty simple.
Right on.
Right. So if you're presently struggling with your weight, and you would like to switch into this empowered easy lane where you can eat whatever you want, then it's not about dieting, craving suppression, counting calories so much, right? That's not what it's really about. It's a matter of updating, really, I say upgrading your beliefs. You need to upgrade out of those disempowering beliefs into the empowered beliefs. And, just purely from an empathy standpoint, right? It isn't your fault for having those disempowering beliefs about food. It's been crammed down our throats our entire lives from day one. Everybody we know has been telling us this, right? Our mothers, parents, our teachers, the people on the TV, the experts, the science books, the science classes. These ideas have been fed to us from the establishment, through our entire lives, right? We pick this stuff up in childhood, and a lot of people get these really bad, disempowering, negative beliefs about food in their childhood from their parents, and it carries through. It's not genetics, but it is behavioral in that sense, right?
Yeah, that's why sometimes I wonder if genetics are literally just the physical echo or something of beliefs.
It's you could call it behavior mimicking, right? So this is what my parents did, and this is what I grew up with in this house. So I learn and take on and carry on their behaviors and beliefs into my life. And then I, of course, naturally pass those on to my children. That's why it looks genetic sometimes. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So how about we talk about why, how can beliefs be so powerful, right? I think that's a relevant question. Like what's so powerful about a belief? How can a belief influence your body? Why don't you take this one, Brad?
Going to give me more, huh? Well, it's a question that this goes a lot further than just food and body weight, right? This subject of beliefs.
Right.
It impacts the entirety of our lives. And the power of beliefs, it's an extraordinary topic to go into. But for today's discussion, we're going to suggest that you're telling your body what's going to happen with the food that you eat, with your beliefs.
Right.
And some people will argue, well, I didn't think potato chips, went to my thighs until I ate a bunch of potato chips, and then my thighs got bigger, right? But somehow, somewhere, that idea was pressing on the person. What we're suggesting is that there was at least a concern that would be the case. They'd heard that before from somebody. So maybe there was a fear about something like that, or worry that potato chips were going to go to the thighs or the gut or wherever. So, one of the biggest ideas, when the first time I really got this idea, was this notion of eating guilt or shame. So this is one of the more palpable examples. But imagine if you could feel so guilty and ashamed of what you were eating, or breaking out of your diet, or eating this food that you craved, that you were worried that it was going to cause you to gain weight. Imagine if your body could respond to this guilt and shame emotion by making your body something that you feel guilty about and ashamed over. Literally responding to that energy you're putting out. That makes sense? Did I say that right?
Yeah, I mean, it's the guilt and the shame are conceived in that moment of the eating, and then they manifest
They're expressed,
physically be aligned with that. Yeah.
Right. The belief is pondered, and then it's expressed. Literally transforming the energy of that food into the belief set. That one really made a lot of sense to me, and because I've known some people that have gotten ensnared in this kind of negative feedback loop. So that's really one of the more powerful ideas. Were you going to say something?
Do you want me to do the clarification?
Sure.
Okay, so we're not saying that eating certain foods won't cause you to gain weight, right? We're not saying that, they actually don't, right? That's not what we're saying. What we're saying is if you believe that eating certain foods will cause you to gain weight, then those foods will cause you to gain weight. Okay. And if you believe, like me and literally billions of other people, that eating ice cream and sugary foods and greasy foods is just whatever, then it'll be just whatever. And it'll just be an enjoyable experience and nothing more than that, and have nothing to do with holding weight. Does that clarify like we wanted to, Brad?
Yeah. Let me just say it shorter and clearer. Yeah. If you, as Matt said, if you believe that the food is going to cause you to gain weight, then it's going to cause you to gain weight. You're the one putting that energy into the food. So your body's going to store it. It's going to hold on to it to help reflect back to you your dominant belief set. Right? Because there's millions and millions of people out there that say potato chips make you gain weight, and they eat them and they gain weight. Well, we don't disagree. All we're saying is it's because they believe that potato chips make them gain weight that causes them to gain weight. That's it in a nutshell. Yeah?
That's it.
So how do you change
That's the idea.
This stuff, Matt? How do you change your beliefs?
Well, so coincidental that you might ask. Okay, so look, at this point, someone listening is either going to be like, that is a bunch of nonsense and I don't want anything to do with it. Okay, fine. All right. I understand. Go keep exploring the mainstream science ideas and see how that works out for you for 1 year or 2 years. And if it hasn't worked out, maybe come back and consider this. But if you're on the page where you're like, yeah, it's obvious. Yeah. All this physicalism, materialism stuff is just a bunch of nonsense. And it doesn't work for many people at all. The statistics are getting worse. It doesn't work for me. And meanwhile, other people can eat whatever they want, right? If you realize that, if you're ready to understand that this scientific model is, and go deeper into this belief change mode where you move closer toward empowering beliefs and discard and release these disempowering beliefs that just cause weight gain, then I want to tell you that there's actually finally a way to actually do it, right? In the spirit of the course that I made for back pain, which I literally have healed probably hundreds of people's back pain all over the world in 50 countries plus, right? I've used this same technology to create an experience for people looking to reach their ideal body weight and maintain it effortlessly, right? It's called conscious eating. And what you do in this course is you do these special exercises where you're eating particular foods. You can eat your favorite foods of these variations, but there's like the cheesecake exercise, the apple exercise, the fried chicken exercise, right? There's like a few more as well. And you can eat whichever food you like to go with that if that's not your exact favorite. It doesn't have to be an apple, it can be an orange. But you do these exercises with the food, and it helps you get in touch and notice and feel the false disempowering beliefs that are there and actually go, oh, yeah, I see how that's in me, driving and maintaining and perpetuating this weight situation. And you actually can release it and discard it, right? And be free of it, right? So it frees you from the prison. And it also helps, there's a whole lot of empowering information in there that you can, a new body of ideas that's empowering and leads to your ideal body weight that you can receive and take in and embody. And once you discard all that stuff and take on this new stuff, you're going to have the transformed mindset of someone who eats effortlessly, whatever they want. And your life is going to be so much more enjoyable with food. You're going to eat whatever you want, whenever you want. You're going to love every bite. And it's going to be great. You're never going to need to diet or suppress cravings again. Okay. So if you're already on the mindblowenzone.com watching this podcast, you can just look below, and otherwise you can come over to the mindblowenzone.com and find the course on that site. There's also a special site for it called the keytoweightloss.com. So however you want to get there, go and check that out. This thing is going to be the greatest weight loss revolution ever. right? Because this is going to free people from these materialist, physicalist notions of genetics and trying to suppress cravings and eat in line with the healthy food pyramid, okay? And it's going to just end all that and just bring back the joy of eating. What else do you reckon you could say about it, Brad?
Well, yeah, I'll make a couple points. So first of all, I just want to I want to just add that, you know, Matt set up two groups. Either you totally think this is a bunch of bunk and nonsense and you're not ready to accept these ideas, or you are. I would add that if you're even if your consciousness is opened enough that at least some of what we said is making sense to you, that this is a possibility, that this course is right for you. And by no means are we suggesting that it's easy to change these beliefs that you've had for 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, however many years, right? You can't just turn them all off overnight. Nobody's suggesting that. And that's why we put this course together. Matt really did a brilliant job of going through, you know, very carefully these exercises on how you could approach this and how you could learn to turn around your beliefs on these different foods and, you know, this whole idea around eating. So anybody, if you totally reject this and you think it's got to be this genetics thing, even though there's not a whiff of proof out there, in reality, by all means, this isn't going to be for you. You're going to that's part of your belief set, right? Is that the scientists have it right and it's genetics. So as long as you have given into that, right, into that idea that you lost the genetic lotto, and you're just going to have to struggle with your weight for the rest of your life because of it, then right, this course wouldn't be right for you. And
please do come back in a year or two.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, after giving it some thought, you know, consider this listening to this podcast a sort of a planting of a seed. It's not ready to germinate yet, right? The season isn't right. But by all means, think about it a little bit and learn to look at how you're thinking and how you're feeling while you're eating, while you're preparing your meals, and while you're thinking about eating and so forth. See if what we're saying resonates. I kind of wanted to leave off just with this, you know, this last bit here, Matt, that, you know, it really comes down to, you have two choices. It's pretty simple. As you know, even though we put together an hour-long podcast, it comes down to this. As I said, either you believe what the experts and authorities are saying about the science of eating and dieting, and that you are unfortunately got stuck with bad genetics if you're having trouble with your weight, and you're just going to have to live with it, right? It's this kind of this life of quiet desperation kind of a situation, right? Where you're stuck with it because there isn't, they aren't offering you any help. Right? They're just saying you've just got to watch your weight and eat less than everybody else. Right? That's your only choice. And that's option A. So by all means, you can stick with that. The second option is what we're talking about. We're saying, no, all you got to do is upgrade your beliefs about eating. You got to turn it into a joyful, enjoyable, exciting, fun part of your life, instead of a dreadful, worrisome, guilt-laden, shame-laden activity. And if you can make that switch, then that's when the magic happens. Those are your choices. Yeah?
Oh, yeah. Love it. So it's Conscious Eating, the Key to Weight Loss. You can get it at themindblowenzone.com, or you can get it at keytoweightloss.com. It's going to be magical. It's going to be the best experience with weight loss you've ever had. It's going to be better than any diet, craving suppression thing, or workout plan or meal plan ever. And it's going to be long lasting, right? Not just as long as you can stick to it. Permanent transformation.
It's absolutely transformational. Absolutely. Never have to think about it again. The joy of eating returns.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. All right, Matt. Anything else?
No, I just want to thank everybody for listening. And I want to thank you, Brad, for doing the podcast with me. This is just great.
Yeah, we want to thank all our listeners, and we certainly look forward to feedback and comments. And hopefully we get enough feedback and comments that we can put together a follow-up podcast in the next couple of months here, answering those questions.
Right on.
Because I'm sure we'll get a lot. All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Matt. We'll catch you on the next podcast.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a good one. Bye-bye.